Welcome back. Now, where were we? Oh, yes. You were lost deep in the forest. A single path revealed itself. Oh, what's this? It's a link to a YouTube video. Oh, it has a Spotify series for audio listeners. Welcome to the Game Playlist Podcast. My name is Akshan, and my favorite monkey is the silverback gorilla. Next to me,
I'm Sashan, and I don't think gorillas are monkeys.
damn, he saw through my loophole.
Okay.
And next to him,
I'm Anuk and I like chimpanzees. So they're monkeys.
My
Am I wrong?
name is Dilantha, and my favorite monkey is the squirrel.
thank you.
You can use gorillas, I can use squirrels. There we go.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Sadly, it was a nut eating contest, so I think the squirrel wins. So, what we do here is we pick a game once a month and we all play it, and we come back here to talk about it. We're not playing it right now. I'm sorry if you came here for a live stream. Today's game was picked by an old lady we found on the street, Mrs. Fredrickson. Could you tell us about the game? Well, yes. Let me tell you about this game that I'm picking. Oh, am I too far? Am I too close to the camera? Oh, let me pull back. All right. So today's game is Inscryption. It's a 2021 game developed by Daniel Mullins, the creator of The Hex and Pony Island. 2 games about games, and Inscryption is no different. It's got a creepy cabin horror aesthetic, but is a strategy card game with roguelike elements. Yes, I want these whippersnappers to play it. Enjoy. I'm going to be going off now, baking my cookies. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Mrs. Fredrickson.
Mrs. Fredrickson.
I like her. I like her.
well,
We need Mrs. Fredrickson in the podcast. She can replace Anuk.
Akshan, your character is still Mrs. Fredrickson.
Is it now? Oh, well, let's go. I'm sorry, I had to stay behind for a moment. All right, I'm back. All right, now let's go.
Well done.
Oh, God.
Good start. Yeah.
So, as Mrs. Fredrickson explained, Inscryption card game. This is a game that, if you've heard about it, if you're interested in it, it's a game that if you're interested in being surprised by the story and you're into strategy games, maybe, this game is best played blind. If you're in that circuit, if you are fine with spoilers, then hey, hop on in. If you played the game already, hop on in. But we aren't going to talk about spoilers immediately. We're going to talk about the gameplay first. And starting with the tone of the game. First off, how's everyone doing?
Pretty okay after meeting Mr. Fredrickson.
Mrs.
Mrs.
Are you talking about just us in general, or are you talking about us after the game?
After the game, because some of us finished the game quicker, some of us finished a few days ago.
I wonder who it could be. I wonder who could finish a few days ago. No,
I wonder who.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know.
I'm sorry. Do you want to go?
You want to go?
So when you begin this game, it doesn't give you a new game option. It only gives you a continue game. When you click that continue game, you are sucked into this cabin in the woods, presumably, because you can't really see outside. First off, let's talk about the tone of the game, the feel of the game. What did everyone feel about this? The tone, the cabin horror aesthetic, the music.
I think before we get into that, you jump into the actual gameplay bit. Like, I feel like the starting, like here's my like take that I want to bring to this is that like usually when you look at the game itself, like on the Steam page, like which is where most of us, I think, followers played on Steam, right? I think you look at the Steam page, the banner, everything, it gives off this very horror aesthetic, and then like you open up the game and it's very 8-bit.
Oh yeah, it starts off and it's got a
8-bit.
very 8-bit feel to
Yeah,
it
it's got a very
in the menu.
8-bit feel to it in the menu, and it's a bit disjointed when you think about it. And like you said, like the whole continue thing. But then, like once you move into the game, it sort of matches that vibe that you do see with the cover arts, cover artwork, and all the other promotional material you've seen on the Steam page or otherwise about the game. Right? It feels almost like a horror game with its like very scary, almost, I don't know.
Yeah, it's labeled as psychological horror on Steam, which, having played some psychological horror, it's not going to be that. It's not really that.
Psychological? Oh yeah.
You had a word for this, right, Akshan? It's basically that it just looks very...
it looks like it's a cabin.
No. As in, it just looks... The look and feel of things is just scary. It's not that it's actually scary. So, disclaimer for people that...
Macabre.
What?
Macabre, yeah.
Macabre. Macabre is is like a style or a tone or themes that explore death in a very like it's in a very casual, almost casual manner, because the gameplay itself is you kill things but it's card based.
Yeah, so it has that very macabre. Yeah, it has that like sort of like vibe to it when you first get into the game, like only seeing this guy's eyes, like some person looking back at you from the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you really see anything other than that, right? Like maybe you see his hand, maybe, and like some instances.
You see his hands, yeah. His hands are very
the look of the cards, the desk, the surroundings of the cabin later on, but like I think like overall the tone is just like that. It just looks.
The tone is very mysterious. Like there's so many questions that the game doesn't answer immediately. It's just like I would want to play a game.
But I will say that like for people that are averse to horror games, people like Delanta, it's not really a horror game, so you don't really need to worry about being like a jump scares or anything of that sort.
I actually don't. I mean, as far as horror games go, I didn't really. I mean, the worst thing I could say is maybe the hand grab when you die, but even that is just like,
you can see it coming at you. You don't really feel it.
Yeah, it's not like it suddenly goes like bam. It's just like.
Yeah, to be fair, the first time he does the hand grab, it's the first time you even see he has hands, and you just he pulls them out of the darkness, and it's just covered in like wraps almost, like, and it's coming towards you without warning, and you can't move.
So yeah, I mean, just that disclaimer, right? There's no actual horror, so like if that
it's got a macabre tone. Yeah.
So even though it looks scary, it doesn't really have any of that.
It doesn't have jump scares.
Yeah.
The game is a deck building game for the most part, but it's also got a few
mechanics.
What's it called? Escape roomish mechanics, because you can get up from the game and just walk around the room, and the walking mechanic is interesting because it's not I move in whatever way I want to move. It's like I move here. It's almost like you're moving on a grid.
Tapping.
Are we talking about the gameplay now?
The mix.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
yeah. And the room itself is a very mysterious cabin with a bunch of puzzles to solve, which aren't really apparent as to what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do them.
There are things you can tell. Right? Some things are definitely an escape, as you say, an escape room feel or a puzzle that needs to be solved. But like some things you really need to, what's the word, look up guides, or really ask someone else who has done the game to really understand what the puzzles are to beat or how to solve them as such. Like at first go, you can't really
Or
solve
use
it.
your brain.
That true, that too, but like
I mean, I didn't. To be fair, I did not look up anything the first time I played it or knew anything.
Here's
I
the
just sort of-
here's the thing, right? Like I get what Anuk means, but I feel like even then the game is designed in a way that like you don't necessarily need the things that like so fair warning, right? Like the escape room esque parts of the game I think are required in fact in order to actually progress, if I'm not mistaken, right, Aksha? You need to like get certain cards and you need to get certain items. But even then, I feel like it's designed in a way that it's not too difficult to
figure it out.
Figure it out, right? So, like, I think the very first thing that everyone is able to unlock is the safe, and
Yeah.
that in itself, you get a hint from the cards as to where you can find the codes.
That one was pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
that one was pretty straightforward. You get the hint from the store. Store tells you that it's. I mean, he tells you where it is, and basically you see where it is. You put the code in, then you get the next card, right? From there onwards, both those cards. So there are talking cards in the game, which I think we should mention, right? There are
talking cards. Adds to the mystery. They don't really explain why they're talking, while the other cards don't talk.
Yeah, so there are 3 talking cards. So there are
4, right?
No, 3.
3.
Oh yeah, correct.
So there are 3. So then first you get the Stoat. He starts off in your starter deck. So then he's the one who tells you about the safe and everything. And then you get the second one, which is the Stink Bug. And then Stink Bug, I think they both then talk about a third card that they need. Which then you have to figure out how to get it. Which is the Caged Wolf. No, Stunted Wolf.
Yes.
Starts off as a caged wolf.
Starts off as a caged wolf, which becomes a stunted wolf.
Yeah. That you need to figure out how to break the cage and stuff like that.
Yes.
Which is the whole eyeball thing.
Interesting.
Also, but
it's decently intuitive how to break the cage.
Yeah, I think that like everything in that aspect is like you end up coming across it. Obviously, some people might take longer than others. Like I'll say this, right? So like there is the whole knife mechanic, right? So spoiler in case anyone's still playing or whatnot. But there is items in the game that you can use in the middle of your card matches. And there's a knife that you use to gouge out your eyeball and place it on the other side of the scale. Which I guess we should mention that. Should we mention, I guess, give a brief thing about the gameplay itself?
I would also say y'all didn't. We didn't actually talk about the game, like the game.
We'll talk about that later.
I was mostly talking about the cabin and stuff, but however, the game has mechanics, and those game mechanics sometimes a lot of times tie into the escape sort of puzzles around the room.
But let's talk about.
And one of them is a knife.
Yeah, let's just talk about the game in itself, right? In that it's a standard. Is it a standard?
It's a deck building roguelike.
Yeah, deck building roguelike. Any other?
So the mechanics of this game is that you have a set of cards and you can place down the cards. However, some cards, the more powerful ones, require blood. The way you get blood is by sacrificing some of the cards you put down. Usually those are squirrels that do nothing. They only have 1 health. You sacrifice them and you're able to put a more powerful card, which does damage to your opponent. First it damages your opponent's card, but then you try and damage your opponent itself, and that you have to damage your opponent 5 times over, not 5 times over, but do 5 damage.
Oh, 6.
5.
Right?
No, once you get 5, you already won the game.
Yeah.
Once you get
it's 5. Yeah. Once you get 5, you won that match, that round.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's on a tipping scale. So if your enemy does damage to you as well, then if they do 5 damage to you, then you lose the game.
It's in their favor.
So it's basically like a scale that goes back and forth until someone is able to basically tip the scale all the way to the other side.
Yes.
But yeah, so then, and I guess like you across in the game, like you come across cards that obviously you can add to your deck, build, upgrade, and all that stuff. Yeah.
The roguelike elements of the game involve you moving up the sort of playing field, which the person who traps you in this cabin is narrating your journey through the forest as you're playing this game. He's like the game master almost. And you go to different places. So you can go to a place where you get a new card. You pick a card from out of 3, or you go to a place where you can combine card abilities together. You can go to a place where you purchase pelts, which later you sell the pelts for other cards, more powerful cards, things like that. And it's all in the name of trying to beat the bosses that this guy is throwing at you until you get to the final boss.
Yeah.
If you lose, you go all the way back to the beginning, and you start out with the same starter deck of Stoat, Stoat,
So-
Wolf,
And stink bug.
and Stink Bug, yeah, and another thing, something else, Bullfrog.
Oh yeah, Bullfrog. Bullfrog is always there.
That bastard
I think there
Bullfrog.
is a certain set of starting deck of cards. I think it was 6 or
Yeah.
7.
No, I think it's like 5 or something.
It's about 5. It's about
That's
5.
Once
yeah.
you get all the talking cards, yeah, it's
You get all the talking cards plus
5.
the Bullfrog, I think.
Yes.
And
Yes. That's how it
Yeah.
works. And an extra wolf.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So that's 1, 2,
5
3, 4, 5. 5, yeah.
yeah, and then like
Yeah,
I
and
guess
a bunch of squirrels.
Squirrels don't really count as a card, but we'll talk
Yeah,
about that later.
but squirrels are their own deck, which you can pull from. So when it's your turn, you can pull from your deck, or you can pull from squirrels and guarantee yourself a squirrel that you can sacrifice.
And so each card has its own power, its own health, special ability, and also its cost for being put onto the board. Some don't require
Yes.
anything, some require 1 sacrifice, some 2, all the way up to 4 sacrifices.
Yep, to 4, because there's only 4 spaces on the board, so up to 4.
You
But
can-
some require a different type of sacrifices, which will spill
Yeah, we
out.
can get into it in a bit. But before that, so one of the extra things that you get is usable items, and one of those items is a plier, which puts a point on the board. It tells you put a point on the board, but when you click it, the macabre element of this game is that you just pull a tooth out of your own mouth and put it onto the board,
Yeah.
put it onto the scale. And the one we were talking about, which is the knife, as Seshan said, pluck an eye, put it onto the scale, and it does a lot of scale weight.
Mm.
And it's one of the essential parts of solving some of the puzzles, which won't go into much further.
I guess there's like other stuff, items as well that we can mention. So other stuff with like every item in the game is basically you get a maximum of 3 items that you can use. You can use them at any point during the game, and you can also have them replenished at certain parts on your way through the level.
Yeah.
But again, there's no guarantee that you'll always have 3. So sometimes you might want to use it sparingly, or if you're in a dire situation. But you have other ones like you have certain cards in a bottle. Most often, it's either a squirrel, so it's like a free sacrifice, or you'll have like a boulder in a bottle, which you can use to like block an enemy. There is a
Black goat.
black goat in a bottle as well. That's like a multiple blood sacrifice. There is also the angler hook, which you earn
you get
after the second boss
basically.
fight.
That's pretty useful, actually. That's a pretty
There's the
useful
fan, and there are a couple of others. I think like you will mostly learn about them and experience them, but they're all things that essentially help
Yeah.
you, in like sort of not building your deck, but supporting you in supporting your deck and helping you sort of like beat the enemies as you go along.
Because one thing about this game is it is a deck building game, and that also means that if you overinflate your deck, all your good cards are going to get. There's a chance your good cards will get buried by some of the mediocre ones. So strategizing and deciding not to take new cards is also a valid valid choice because you might want to keep your deck small, keep your deck powerful instead of inflating it like that.
Yeah. It's
very-
more of a strategy game if you think about it when it comes to like
very
the
much a
core
strategy
mechanic of Inscryption is that it's purely based around strategy if you look at the game as a whole.
Yeah. Can get into that.
Are there any there is like another mechanic to the game. Like there are lots of little parts to the game that you uncover as you go along. That adds to the whole thing of the game. I think one of them is also like the bone coins and stuff.
Yeah. So another mechanic they introduce is that some cards don't require sacrifices; they require bones, and bones you get by creatures dying on your side. So if a creature dies on your side, you get bones. You can spend those bones to play certain cards that require bones, which is a secondary way of playing cards if you don't have any way of sacrificing.
Yeah. But I guess like instead of talking about all the different mechanics of the game, which I guess in itself, I feel like it leaves much to be discovered. But I think
I feel like we've covered a lot. I feel like someone who's never heard of this is going to be overwhelmed, so we'll just stop there.
Yeah, and so I think from this point onwards, we'll just consider it like if you played the game and you have you understand a bit more about it, and you kind of want to see how we feel about it. I guess we can.
Yeah.
Continue.
So let's talk about the gameplay itself. That gameplay. Like, how did it feel? Was it enjoyable? Did it feel more like luck than strategy? Did it feel were the bosses unfair at points?
I
Let's start with Delanta.
yeah.
Liked it. I really liked it because it's a lot like Hearthstone in it. So I think that's why I liked it a lot. The card playing is very much like Hearthstone, the way your damage, health, and stuff. So I like the card playing aspect of it. Is it unfair? I mean, if you play enough roguelikes, you know that at some point it's just the way it goes. It gets unfair. Like it's by design, like they're it just sends you back for like reasons, and just so that you can keep on experiencing the loop again, learning more, getting better. Like if you just keep on progressing without anything happening to you, you're not really getting too much out of it. It'll then just be a quick game of like, then it's done. So I think in that way, like it's a very good rogue, like sending it back. All the additional enhancement mechanics, the merchants, is all really cool. Yeah, overall, I really liked that part about it.
Lovely.
Okay. Okay, so as Dylan said, he said it is very low roguelike, and there is an element of luck in it. So if you're not lucky in your first draw of cards that you pull, then you are kind of screwed in the further stages of the game, so to say. If you don't like pull out the best cards, and I feel like that is a deciding factor for me to say that is a bit annoying at times. Sometimes you're not lucky enough to get the best cards, and then you're like waiting for the best. I mean, you were there when you and Session were there when I was playing, right? Like we were trying to look for one aspect of the game, and then we couldn't find it until like the very last bit of that certain part. If you get what I'm trying to say, the sacrificing part. We were like looking for the sacrificing thing. Remember? For a while, and then it appeared like towards the end.
You had a goal of I needed to sacrifice this.
Yeah, like it's all based on luck, right? So it's very difficult sometimes to get what you want. But
okay,
it's almost like life, Alok. Think about it.
Wow.
A bit deeper.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But other than that, I mean, it was fun. It was fun towards, for me, it was at least fun towards the later stages of the game rather than the beginning. Beginning felt like a job I had to finish the game.
Hmm.
But towards the end, when I finally finished that first part, yeah, then it was good.
All right.
That's my take.
First,
All right.
maybe this has just one thing before you go. Like personally, for me, like I really like the beginning. It was when it progresses, as I guess we're going to talk about how it progresses. I think
I'm
that's
leaning on Dylan's side of it. But
that's where it starts like steadily. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. The core gameplay is fantastic, but then it steadily starts dropping for me for some reason. I think it also has to do with its themes and like how they've chosen to deliver the next few parts of the game. But again, the main thing is they kept the core gameplay as much as they could. So
roughly.
yeah.
I lean towards what Delant is saying. I really enjoyed the gameplay towards the first bit of the game. I really liked how when I was playing it the second time, it was after me and Anuk were talking about it being luck based and it being more like if you get really unlucky, it's really shitty. So I was playing it and I just wanted to see with whether me knowing the game well enough, whether I could get through without whether it was luck based, whether I felt like I was as beholden to the gods of the code. And the thing I was realizing is that it does feel luck based if you are looking for a specific way you want your cards to go, or specific way that you want your deck to be built out. Whereas the thing I realized, and after playing the DLC a fair bit, is that you, in order to play the game well, which may not be the way most people want to play, which is fair enough. But the way you play the game well is look at what you have, look at what is coming up, and strategize backwards and try and figure out, okay, this is what I need to do in order to get the best play, in order to get the best strategy. Because if you have a card and you're like, oh, this could be good, and then you're like looking forward, trying to strategize forward, it feels like what do you call, while you're going down, while you're in a hurry, you see the red lights more than you see the green lights. If you get me. Do you get what I mean, or am I going off the beaten path?
I get parts of it.
Get parts of it. All right. Someone
I
out there will get what I mean.
I agree with you, Akshan, to like a certain extent. Like it is mostly about adapting to the cards that you get, to whatever cards you are dealt.
You deal with the cards you're dealt.
Yeah, you deal with the cards that you're dealt. And
Fate in the heart of the cards.
but yeah, I understand that like it can get a bit annoying, but since you brought up the DLC, right? So like I'll say this bit now, before we actually talk about the DLC and stuff like that. I think that like the first half of the game, or like the earlier stages of the game, as I said, it is built anyways in a way in order to help the player progress through the story, that it feels like it's a lot on easy mode, because there are
It's on
certain
easy mode.
yeah, because there are certain mechanics in the first, like in the earlier stages of the game, that sort of like allow you to essentially cheese your way through it, right? And which really which essentially like makes the first bits of the game really easy after you understand, and like once you're given access to those cheese elements. But I would say like the DLC, where it like probably takes focus and like follows a more proper roguelike-ish experience, is where shit hits the fan, and where it gets really, really annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's very well. Thing is, the DLC it does feel a little bit like you do feel the if only I had this card moments
yeah,
a lot more than the main story, because the story I think is fine with you breaking the game. I mean, at that point, it's not breaking the game; it's just the mechanic.
yeah,
Because clearly the game creator knows that those are broken because he fixes it in the DLC.
yeah.
But he keeps the main game. Like everyone, like all of us have played it post DLC, and the main game is still the same. You can break it however you want.
I think Dilantha, you didn't try the DLC.
I
Right?
didn't try the DLC.
Yeah.
Is it important? Does it?
Not really.
Not really.
No.
Okay.
It just sheds a light on the intent of the gameplay here
Yeah.
in the story.
But like, here's the thing, right? Like it takes.
Sorry. Quick question. When you say story, is it the game story or the meta
gameplay
story?
and the story.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
The
Yes and yes.
The DLC just mostly takes the core mechanic of the main game and like makes that the, how do I say it?
It's just a roguelike. That point
Yeah,
is just a
it
roguelike.
just becomes like a proper roguelike. Like it has like the element of constantly,
Yeah.
reaching
Every
one
time you
point
start
and
a
reset.
run,
Yeah.
every time you start a run, you choose a different starting deck. You choose a different modifier to the difficulty.
Yeah. There's more challenges to add, like stuff like that. It becomes a proper roguelike in the DLC, which is where like the annoyingness of the entire game, I think, shines. Again, my thoughts on the DLC, I'll save till the end. But
We'll save till later. Until then, so yeah, I feel like are there any more thoughts about the gameplay, about like just the playing of the game, the strategy elements that we want to talk about, or we all say our piece?
I mean, I've said my piece, kind of.
yeah, I think there's nothing much else to say about it, right? Like I think you learn about what you're supposed to do and what you're not as you go on. Either you learn how to do things like your own way, or you'll end up looking up what the OP deck is.
You know what? Sorry, I just realized one thing. I think one good thing that I think you guys brought up outside before our call is that, like, one thing that I think we want to recommend to the people is this is not a game you should rush, right?
Yeah.
I think
True.
you'll enjoy it a lot more. Like, of course,
Yeah.
we rushed it because
We have a month.
We only had a month.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
You could complete it in a month, but
you could you could even complete it like
In a week.
very whatever pace you want. But I think it's better you not rush.
Take your
You
time.
just take your time, just keep playing, keep playing, losing, and like learning the game.
I will
then
say,
it becomes more enjoyable.
I will say, watching Anuk play, he rushes like a Woody Woodpecker. When he's playing down cards, he doesn't think. It looks like you're not thinking. No offense, I think you are thinking, but it looks like it's so fast.
You see,
It's just like-
Akshan, Anuk already knows his third, fourth move right in his head, right there.
You just put a card down, like, oh, I have I'll put this down, and then you regret it immediately.
But that's how I learn the game, though. That's how I play dumb to learn the game faster. I mean, I don't. It works for me at least. I don't know how.
But you beat the game dumb.
No.
That's the most impressive part of it all.
No. From the beginning, yes, I did play it dumb like that. I mean, I ran through the game to understand the mechanics, but like towards the end is when I started taking it slow and then understanding the actual mechanics of the game, or playing with the actual mechanics of the game.
Why is that?
Why is that? That's how I learn stuff. Like I just rush through things, learn it.
That is Anuk's style of play. That is Anuk's style.
Hey, if you're Gen Z, I guess Anuk's your way.
Okay.
Attention.
I don't know why you're making that joke. We're all Gen Z.
I know. it's funny. Don't tell Mrs. Fredrickson. So when So let's talk about one. Let's talk about a little bit of extra thing. What was the most broken card you got?
Hmm.
Hmm.
You
What
want
was
to
the
go
most
first?
broken combo that you got?
I have
We'll
two
end with
actually.
Anuk just because I'll end with Anuk because we saw his most broken card. It was
We saw his
hilarious.
most broken card. Yes.
Uh,
I think mine
I
was.
don't remember.
I think mine was like a Mantis God that I had leveled up to do like. Was it? It was either like I think I had like multiple cards, which is no. My most broken card was a death card, which I guess I can talk about a bit. Like
You mean
each
Starvation card?
yeah.
no death
You
card.
can talk about the
Oh,
sigils.
that. Okay.
The death card is something that when you end a run, the person that you are your opponent, basically the person in this cabin, he allows you to select certain attributes from the cards that you had in your deck during the run, and then add them to a blank card, and then takes a photo of you and then lets you name the card. And essentially, that card can be found later on randomly throughout the run, right? So I had I was able to get a card which had 7 attack, 7 health, cost only 1 blood,
Really.
and
Oh.
had the Mantis God sigil.
Prong, so thrice, so 7/7/7.
A 3-prong with 7/7/7. So I could do 21 attack with a 1 blood cost card.
Yeah, that's the broken.
That is the
That's
broken. Yeah.
My broken one was Ouroboros, which is a lot of people once they realize how the Ouroboros works. It's hilarious. Do you know how the Ouroboros works, Delanta? By the way.
No.
Okay, so that card, if you kill it, it's
Unkillable.
It's unkillable,
It's
right?
unkillable. Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you kill it, it increases its damage and its health.
By 1.
So every time you kill it,
And it keeps it.
And
it keeps it. It keeps it even after you die. So if you find the Ouroboros again, you'll be like, "Oh, my Ouroboros with 12 damage, 12 health."
What's its blood cost?
2.
1.
2.
Oh, 2. Sorry, 2. 2 it's and it's 1.
So it's a little
No.
difficult to do.
Yeah.
No, it's never 1.
No, it's never 1.
It's
It's
never 1?
always 2.
It's always 2.
Oh, then I must have changed the card. Sorry.
Huh?
How did you change the card?
I remember it being 1 because at the end you can change the card.
No.
You can. You can.
I'm trying to think. I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't think that. We'll talk about it later.
We'll talk about it later.
However, what I did was I had the Ouroboros and I had a black goat with the undying sigil.
Hmm.
So I just played the black goat and then used the Ouroboros to played the Ouroboros with the black goat, and I got the black goat back. So I played the black goat with you sacrificing the Ouroboros, put it down, and then I took the Ouroboros, which came back to my hand, and played it again. And I just kept doing that until I got to 100. And then 100 damage, and then it was lovely. Yeah, that was my
I'm amazed y'all can remember that because I don't remember my one. I kept on doing a lot of. I think I also was kind of like Anuk in the sense that I kept on trying a lot of different things. A lot of them didn't work.
Yeah.
That's what I said. I think it's like about finding like what works for you, because like I think the game gives you a lot of options in that, like the types of cards, right? I feel like a broad categorization is that like the game itself categorizes the cards into like animal classes, and like you find online, you find people building certain decks based off those categorizations as well, where like the dog types, which is like the wolves, coyotes, bloodhounds, they are like more high damage, low health sort of, or like they're like a medium buildish sort of. Yeah, Akshan. They're like the all rounder.
What, the wolves?
Yeah, the dogs.
I have no idea what that means.
As in like they are like not bad in health or. They're not
mostly around 2 blood cost.
Yeah, mostly around 2 blood cost. They have decent health and decent attack, and they don't have any sigils, which is where like their lacking power is. Then like you have the insect brands, which are mostly based on like the sigils. You have like the snakes. You have the what's the other one?
That's not an insect.
No. As in like the snakes. The snakes are like a different line. You have the adder, the rat.
Lizard, like the
Oh yeah, the
reptiles.
reptiles. Yes, reptiles are the other line, and then there's birds as well. Yeah, birds.
Birds. Yeah. Different classes, and those classes can be affected by totems, which you can get later in the game. Which is like all your wolf cards can fly. You can like get one of those if you want.
So I think like they allow you to sort of figure out what build you want to go for. It's sort of like almost like when you look at like a hero class in like any game, hero class, shooter, or whatever. Like you are given the opportunity to pick and go forward with the deck that you know is something you are comfortable with and something that works for you. So I think like similarly,
and
right?
you get more of that in Casey's mod.
Yeah.
If you enjoy that sort of stuff. However, what was your most overpowered card? Actually, you just said that you tried a lot of things. You didn't have one overpowered.
I don't remember the name.
Interesting. Anuk, please tell us.
Okay, so there was 2 overpowered cards that I felt were overpowered.
Okay.
First one was, I won't state the obvious one, which is what y'all already mentioned, the Ouroboros, but the other one I felt was overpowered was in the second part of the game, you could say, was the Mage card.
But not in that part, yeah.
Okay, but I mean, but that is what I felt.
Go for the
other one was the wolf.
Yeah, just explain
The
the
wolf that I made.
one.
Okay. Sorry, I'm sneezing a bit. 1 second. Give me a second.
Achoo. That was Anuk sneezing.
Sorry. So, as Akshan and Seshan were there that day, so basically you can sacrifice sigils, as Seshan mentioned earlier, onto your cards. Because there are mechanics in the game that allow you to sacrifice certain sigils, there are a few overpowered sigils, such as the what was it? That one where you can where it comes back to your hand. That is one sigil, and then the other sigil, the unkillable sigil, and then the other one, which is the Omni sigil. So how the Omni sigil works is you attack normally in one direction, facing. If say your card is in one, the card opposite to you is where you attack. But for the Omni Sigil, you attack in either 2 directions or 3 directions or even 4 directions, right? If I'm not mistaken.
No, there's only 3.
Yeah.
No, isn't there a 4th?
No, there's only 3.
No.
So it's either you attack. So normal cards attack the card in front of you. There's also the sigil where it allows for like a 2-pronged attack, which allows you to attack the cards that are diagonal to you, but not the one adjacent to you. And then there's the 3-pronged one, which allows you to attack both diagonal and the one directly in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah, there's the Omni Strike that allows you to have 4.
No, the Omni Strike is not available in this. It's available only in the DLC.
It's only applicable to one card that you'll never get.
Yeah,
and that's not in the base game.
Yes. Okay, sorry. I was confused for that one. But yes, so I had a dual. What do you call that?
You're a triple one. You basically.
No, I didn't have a triple. I had a tuple. I had 2.
You had a double.
You had both.
You had
both. So 1 and 2.
Why does Anuk not remember
Why does not? Yeah, I was going to say you all remember this more than Anuk.
Let's just remember. Let's just refresh it. Anuk. Anuk had a wolf card with the Mantis God sigil, which allowed him to do a 3-pronged attack. In addition to that, he had a totem for all dog or wolf cards, which allowed him to do an additional double-pronged attack, which meant he did 5 moves, 5 damage attacks in total.
And on top of that, I have a 6 damage attack.
Yes, and he had a 6 damage, which means he did 30 damage in 1 move.
So instant KO.
Yeah. That was hilarious. That was hilarious. Hilarious day.
And was it? No, it was a full wolf, right? It wasn't a
Yeah.
wolf pup.
No, it's not. It's not a wolf. It's
Full wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a squirrel. Well, it's a strong squirrel.
Mm.
Those were our most overpowered cards. The game, like there are bosses also in the game, but they're not really that significant. Besides the fact that they have personalities. That like you have the miner, you have the prospector,
Yeah.
who's a miner. You have the
Angler.
trader, and
Yeah.
you have the angler,
Yeah.
and you have the final one, which you can.
But
say
I feel like
spoilers.
talking about like the bosses also is kind of important because like they're the first roadblock you kind of encounter in that they have special mechanics that you have to, which similar to like most roguelikes, which is a mechanic you have to kind of understand about each boss. In that, for the prospector, if you defeat the mule, you get a bunch of cards added to your deck. And then moving.
My mule.
Yeah, and most bosses come with. And most bosses come with like a second phase.
I think all of them
Yes.
come with the second
Yeah.
phase.
All the bosses have 2 lives. So you
Yeah.
if you manage to take out the like you do 5 damage to him, he comes back and it's just
Yeah.
like okay, round
And
2.
so then like the
Also,
mechanic
if
changes.
you have 2 lives, your one is taken away. That adds to
Yeah, so you only have
more
1 life.
difficulty. Yeah.
And yeah, you basically have to battle the boss twice, and like most games he has like a second phase basically where you basically know what each mechanic is. But yeah, but I feel like the bosses are somewhat important in this stage of the game. It's like they're like the first time you see an actual face
True.
to who you are fighting, in that like the figure that is sort of like narrating the whole card game experience, he puts on these masks like a D&D,
And
like a
shows the
D&D
face.
master, and sort of like just like a whole act and a bit, to
I am the angler. You are the fish.
yeah, and like the scenery changes and stuff like that, which I guess is like a significant point once you reach it
There's
in
also
the game.
unique gameplays like to them. Like
Yeah.
after the first round of the prospector, he destroys your cards, whatever's on the table. Of the second round, actually not even the second round, the first round with the angler, he will hook your cards if your turn goes through.
Yeah.
Your last card that you played. So you strategize by putting a squirrel down so that he just takes your squirrel.
In the trapper one, he will place traps, so if your card attacks the trap, your card automatically dies
Yeah, and becomes a pelt.
and becomes a pelt. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's good in that way because you can trade those pelts in for his cards and then just...
But if you don't know how it works,
But if you don't know how
Yeah.
it works, then you're screwed. Yeah. Fair point.
I remember how Anuk lost the first time.
Yeah,
Yep.
I remember too.
Because he was stinky.
Stinky.
But it's your first time facing the boss, right?
No.
Second
Oh,
time.
No, it wasn't.
The thing
For me,
is,
it's like-
the thing that
It's fine,
happened,
Anuk.
the thing that happened there, Dilantha, was like we were watching that run, right? Like we got Anuk to place the cards and we told him what to do. And then like I was just about to tell him, maybe place this other card down just in case. Like we were doing the math in our head about like the damage Anuk could do, and he had just enough to be able to pass the level. But before we could say, let's put this other card down as, this thing, someone went ahead and rang the bell.
He was just like, oh, I'm done. Okay, let's move on. Oh, I died.
Yep.
That's
I beat the game,
when
right?
I was
I
like,
beat the game,
why-
right? Exactly.
No, you lost that round.
You lost that round,
but I
it.
beat the game.
Restart.
And then we had to
No,
watch you do it again from the beginning.
Afterwards, we watched you from the beginning after you lost that round.
Okay.
Arguably, we helped you beat the game because that round that you won, we were there helping you.
Anuk, word of advice: if these two ever want to watch you play, just say nope.
Exactly.
And go and
That would
play
give them-
for yourself.
True. You should just look it up.
Or they'll just judge you from the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Oh god. So yeah, that's the gameplay of the game, and without spoiling like what any of the major boss is. Let's go into stating if you're interested by the strategy sort of game, and you're maybe interested by the tone of this game. It's a difficult game. It's not a visual novel. You don't just click through. the story. So if you are into the story, get ready for some strategy and strategizing. But yeah, so this is a spoiler warning because we're going into some decently major spoilers for the next part. All right, that's your warning. Goodbye, all of you who
Don't want to be
don't want
spoiled.
to hear this. All right, so let's talk about the gameplay of Act 2, which, if you're like, there's an Act 2? Yes, there's an Act 2, where the gameplay completely changes. The gameplay, well, not completely, but it's not suddenly a FPS. But the gameplay changes in such a way where everything you knew is partially out the window.
Yeah.
Because you have new mechanics, new methods of fighting, new what do you call it, cards that you have to keep in mind, new cards from them you have to keep, your enemy that you have to keep in mind. And the game itself goes from a sort of roguelike cabin horror sort of setting to a pixel art Pokemon sort of like old school Pokemon sort of vibe, where the fights are just fights. You go and you fight. All the roguelike elements.
It's more like an adventure game.
And you get to choose how your deck is built in this one, where you choose what cards you have in your deck. So managing your deck is a little bit easier here. It's a little bit easier in general, but the overwhelming nature of what all these new cards are is going to be a lot for me, especially when I got to that point. After the surprise of, whoa!
Okay, so we'll bring this bit up, right? So like you do we give a bit of like an overview to Act 2? It's like very brief.
Let's not go into why. Let's not go into why there's a pixel artist.
No. We won't go into that, but like we'll go into like the story that the Act 2 presents us with, as well as
the in-game
as well as
story.
the ending of Act 1 to sort of like tie things together into some perspective. So we find out that at the end of Act 1 that the mysterious figure, and we get to see his face also, is a guy named Leshy. And he uses
his camera.
Yeah, and he uses his camera. He uses his camera in order to capture creatures and then turn them into playing cards. Right? And after we beat him is only when we get access to the new game, and therefore get access to Act 2. In Act 2, they give an introduction as to the world of Act 2 and like the what we will call the original Inscryption, and it's what it's referred to as in the game. The story in the original Inscryption is that there were 4 scribes that were able to use their powers in order to build, in order to make the world of Inscryption and playing cards. So one of the scribes is Leshy, which we understand, right? We understand that Leshy
takes pictures in the wild.
Yeah, he uses his camera and takes pictures of creatures in the wild in order to make cards. Then you meet Grimora, who is the scribe of the dead. Sorry, so I guess Leshy is scribe of the beasts, if I didn't mention that. Grimora is scribe of the dead, and she uses her quill in order to
write the epitaphs of the dead.
Write the epitaphs of the dead. Then we got PO3, who's the scribe of technology. He uses his there's some machine, right?
He put his particle scanner to clone new.
Yeah, he clones and makes new cards that way. And then there is Magnificus, the scribe of. What was it? Magnificus, yes, the scribe of what again?
The scribe of magics.
Scribe of magics, yes, which he uses.
Got his quill.
No, his paintbrush.
Sorry, paintbrush.
He uses his paintbrush to draw new cards. So these are the 4 scribes, and at the start of the game, you are offered the opportunity to try to basically challenge and overthrow one of these scribes, and you have to choose. And that's sort of how the game starts.
And the game.
Do they say
pretty
that
bluntly?
Sorry, hold on. Do they say that at the beginning of the part?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
As soon as you start Act 2, it's like new game. This world was created by the 4 scribes.
Yeah, and then after that, when they ask you to choose your starting deck, they actually ask you to basically the
overthrow one of them. You pick a starting deck, and it'll be either bone cards, beast cards, or the 2 new card types, which are magic cards and
mechanic.
Battery.
battery cards.
Which
Which
one did you
introduced-
guys choose?
True.
Um,
The first time I chose magic and I regretted it.
the first time I
chose magic as well, and I regretted it so much. Oh my god!
It was hell on earth, wasn't it?
That was all.
I
Good
chose
lord.
Beast
It was the worst.
in my first time, and then I chose Bones in my second one.
Beast is smart.
Beast.
I think
Yeah.
I love moving to Beast instead.
Bones
I mean,
is
because
pretty
you know
good.
how the game works, right? The
Danuk cutting out? Or is that me?
Yeah, I think I was cutting
don't
out. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
You can hear you. You're just cutting out
Okay.
randomly. It's fine. We can hear you now.
Oh.
What did you say?
Oh no, I chose Beast as well because it's easier since we already know how the mechanics of the
Yeah.
Beast cards work.
No, see that's a smart man's way of thinking. Now me,
Me and Delanta.
an adventurer was like, "Ooh, magic! How that must be fun, right? Like new cards, adventure. Ooh la la, so nice."
And then you look at your deck.
And then you look at your deck, you look at how to play the magic cards, and you want to just take the
Die in a fire.
keyboard and train it in your face.
It was magic cards, terrible. I don't want to play them. I don't like. No one likes Magnificus, and I know why. So
Yeah, I guess like the other part we did mention, like the Akshan said, like you get to choose a starting deck also, and each scribe and as such, each of their territories have a specific type of card that runs off a specific gimmick, I would say, which I guess you're used to somewhat from the first act of the game. The Beast Scribe Leshy uses the blood sacrifices. The Grimora Scribe of Dead uses the
use
bones. And PO3 is
magic is terrible.
Magic uses like these like gems or something.
Crystal,
Three gems.
You have to. So magic, if you have a green card, you have to put a green gem on the board in order for that
Otherwise it
green
won't work.
card to exist on the board.
Yes.
Yeah. And then they
Otherwise, it gets removed from the board.
Yes, and if you lose the green gem, that green card is gone.
and then there's the technology ones which rely on like a battery system. But it's like
and the battery recharges every round. Sorry, it charges up one by one every
Every
round.
battle,
Yeah.
every round. Sorry.
Yes.
So there's like a different mechanic to each, and they're like regions as well. So like each scribe is in a particular region, and you face against certain characters who use cards from those regions. So you sort of get to like experience. You get to experience how each card and their subsequent mechanics work, and you're also able to gain cards from those regions, and then as such learn and practice yourself. Obviously, at the start of the game, they give you access to the two that you are familiar with, which is the Beast and the Scribe of the Dead cards, so the Bone cards and the Blood cards. And yeah, I guess we can, now that we've given context, we can continue from there.
All right. Thank you for watching. No. So you go. You have to pick either Leshy or Grimora, and a lot of people probably go to Leshy just because they're like, huh? Just to see what the heck happen. And your mini bosses for Leshy are the main bosses from the first act of the game. And
Gotta
it's
see
very
that coming, eh?
I know, but it's very interesting because you're starting to put together like what's happening and why everything is happening, and and then you start to wonder why did Leshy do this? How did Leshy do this? Because you restarted the game essentially. The game that you're playing in is the real game, quote unquote. Like the main menu was a pixel sort of design. This Act 2 is in that design.
Yeah. It's the original
it's very
Inscryption.
Yes. And in the world of this, you come across some story beats that are interesting. However, the mechanics of this section of the game. Let's go into that. Any thoughts on the tone on the style of this section? Was it you not
It
like
was
it?
a bit more mellow in compared to the first
It's
act,
very
which is
mellow.
like very
Very.
dark and mysterious, whereas this one felt a bit more like a Pokemon style of a game where it's 2D but movement style. Not. I feel like yeah,
Pixel.
it's very pixelated and very Pokemon-ish, Pokemon-esque
It's an
feel.
old school. It's like the old school JRPG
Retro,
type
yeah.
of thing. Retro.
Final Fantasy 7.
Final Fantasy. Yeah.
But yeah, that's
But yeah, even the music has a very like beep, boop, beep, beep sound.
Like
8-bit sounds.
like a small thing here, right? Like I feel like maybe everyone experiences as well. Like the change from the first act to this act was a bit jarring, and it
It's very
A
kind
bit.
jarring in the sense that like it
Very
feels
much.
sort of like uncomfortable in a sense to sort of like play when you first start out. So, which is why I
Yeah.
guess I'd recommend also sort of like putting the game down, pause, like quitting it for.
Yeah. I have a feeling. Yeah, I have a feeling once you look at your achievement and go, "Oh, Act 1 finished. I'm gonna stop for the day."
Yeah, because most often, like that's what ends up happening with this game is that like when you proceed from the first act to this, that sort of like initial shock that you get from like a completely different game from the first act makes it like too difficult to kind of comprehend and get things done because there's
Yeah,
like so much
you'll be very
information.
overwhelmed.
Yeah,
Because when you finish the first act, you're like your brain is working overtime unless you are going through it really fast. But and you get really lucky, and you have like an Ouroboros,
yeah,
100 damage. But if you were like if you were tired at the end of Act 1, starting Act 2, you're gonna be crying. So
Good to
take a
take a
break.
break.
Take
Yeah.
a break. However, Act 2, it's. Am I wrong in saying that it's overwhelming at first, a lot of the mechanics, and if you start with magic, you're really annoyed. Uh, but is it wrong to say that it's easier than Act 1? Much easier.
It is easier than Act 1.
It's more straightforward, right? Because it's very
Mhm.
clear. Like you go to a section, you need to complete some tasks, then you fight the boss, then you move on to the next section. Like
Yeah.
in that way, there's not like the added bit of you have to.
It removes that roguelike.
It removes the roguelike aspect of it, as well as like the extra like escape room. Well, again, you're not really in a room, right? Because
There's no penalty for failing at all.
Yeah,
In this
and you can
one.
build your own deck and change it out any way you want. It's like I feel like
Yeah.
it gives you a certain level of freedom and like it I wouldn't say encourages you to fail. That's more like the first one. But like it doesn't penalize you for like failing. Like
badly.
it does. Yeah, like basically there's no repercussions for like losing a match or anything, right? Like you lose the match, you can try over as many times as you want. You don't end up at the beginning. And yeah, I mean, like it's overall like a easier time. Like sometimes it'll get the only time I would say it gets difficult is actually learning the mechanics of like the newer cards and how they function and how to beat them.
For me, the more jarring thing, the actual aesthetic I thought was fine. I was actually excited. I was like, whoa, like, it's 2D world, retro RPG, fun. Then when I got to my first battle, and then I saw it's like a whole new battle screen. Like, it's not even just different, like, style. Like, the whole layout they've kept it as similar as they could, but it's also changed. I think that's really what got to me, and I was just like, now I need to play
Learn
with
again.
this and learn. Well, learn with it again. Yeah, true. You do have to learn it as well, but it's just like I think if you spend like a lot of time with the original system, then you come to this. It's not fun. You just like it. I think just drops your excitement like that.
It does a bit. It does a bit.
Which is why
No wonder that she wanted to make the game better.
which is spoilers, Akshan. Which is why like I'd say like it's better to sort of like take it slow when you start the second deck because even though you think you know everything about the game, you clearly don't, and you learn the true Inscryption with this part of this with the second act of the game.
Yeah. The bosses in this game in this act are Leshy, Grimora, PO3, and
Magnificus.
Magnificus or Magnificus. Either way, it's pronounceable.
Magnificus. I think
If you only read his
Magnificus.
name.
Yeah.
The thing is, he's a ficus.
Uh-huh.
He's Magnificus, Magnificus. It's always funny. It was all like the first time I saw it was really jarring to me. Like Leshy and his wildlife camera. Grimora inscribes epitaphs of the dead. PO3 and his particle particle accelerator that clones CPUs. It was like such like I don't know why PO3 is even here. It doesn't make sense. It's such a jarring contrast.
Yeah. And like the worlds in itself are also like so different, right?
So weird. Yeah. It's all like a lot of it is really macabre. I mean, the fact that one of the scribes is of the dead, and you use and you have to solve the puzzles of who died how.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
And then Magnificus, all of his pupils are sort of in a suspended state of animation. They're not really there, and you have to beat them, or they have to beat you in order to become his actual pupils.
But did you like kind of notice how that like Leshy, at least for me, it felt like Leshy and Grimora, like Leshy and Grimora, and then on the other end, PO3 and Magnificus, they're like reflections of each other in a sense. It's that like Grimora's like the dead, right? And Leshy, in the sense like having to do with beasts and stuff, is like stuff that's alive, and using sacrifice is like meaning a living thing. So it's more like life and death in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And then like for me, PO3 and Magnificus is like, technology versus magic sort of situations, which is like somewhat of like a trope you see in like shows and all also. It's like it's one or the other, right? It's either you use technology to progress something or you use magic.
Yes, Adventure Time.
Yes.
So what you're saying is this is all just an Adventure Time spin-off.
Yes, this is the land of Woo.
The land of Woo. Yeah. I like the there's we'll get into it like in the main spoilers when we get into spoilers, but I like the consistency of this game, the consistency of its world.
We haven't gotten to main spoilers.
Nope.
No, because I don't think any of us have had like favorite cards here, so maybe we'll skip that just because
I actually do. I have a card that I liked.
1 minute, go.
I think it's called Tomb Raider. If I'm not mistaken, that's the name of the card.
The Gravedigger.
No, Tomb Raider.
Oh, you mean okay.
I didn't know there was a Tomb Raider card.
I think it's called Tomb Raider. I might be mistaken. I mean, just look it up, Akshan, and see if I'm right.
If I say Tomb Raider card, I'm going to get something else.
Yeah, type it out in Inscryption.
maybe add Inscryption to it. Maybe that'll help. I don't know.
Tomb Raider card Inscryption. No. I think it's something else.
It's Tomb something.
Rare. No, it does say rare Tomb Raider card.
Is it?
Again, nothing in the wiki has anything about it. I had to go like really far into indie FAQ.
Inscryption cards.
Cards. Maybe it's here.
Tomb Robber, not
is it Tomb Robber?
Yeah.
Tomb Robber.
That's Tomb Robber then.
Close enough.
Close enough.
So, yeah. Tomb Robber, that was my favorite card and the one that helped me initially get through Act 2. And the core mechanic of that is each time you have a bone, which is from your own cards dying, is you can press the button and get an unlimited amount of skeletons. Basically, the amount of bones you have is the amount of skeletons you can bring out from that using that card. And it's a free cost card as well. So and skeletons do
no wonder you like it.
Yeah, free. Skeletons, do they do 2 damage?
They do
One.
2 damage.
They do 2
then
damage, but
2
then
health.
brittle. But yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like almost like a easy way to like continuously use cards.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that sounds like a nice way to break the game. I use Ouroboros, so I didn't really break the game in a nice way.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some other secrets around that world, but I think we can go into any other thoughts about Act 2, because mainly because of time, I want to go into Act 3 so we can go into other things as well. Let's go into Act 3, which, if you're shocked there's an Act 3, welcome. Welcome to my
our
world. Welcome to my world. When I finished Act 2 and got to Act 3, my mind was blown.
Once again.
I was lightly blown. Okay, that sounds wrong. I was lightly mind blown by the reveal of Act 2, because I was like, "Oh, there's a whole new game." And then Act 3 happened, and it was like, "Oh my gosh!" And this is where we get into the technology called
So we'll explain this.
metal oppressive rooms.
Shall we?
Which by the fact that we're going to Act 3, I think we can go into spoilers as to why we're even getting here. So spoiler alert, we're going to talk about story stuff from here on out. So get out if you don't want to know anything.
Yeah. Do you want me to summarize it?
So I'll try and summarize it.
Okay.
The first part of the game, when you start continue game, Leshy's taking you through this thing. When you beat Leshy, you unlock a new card file. You go into the menu and you start a new game. It rewrites the whole code, and you're starting in the Act 2, which is the main game of Inscryption. When you go through the whole thing, you get to PO3, and he's fishing around for something. He doesn't really care, but he cares about something else, and he wants you to finish the game. When you go to finish it, it doesn't matter who you picked to be your successor or the person you want to succeed. PO3 comes and like, fight me, and then when you fight him, he sort of forces you to hit him while he's having this corrupted card, and when you do that, he essentially takes over the game, and it's really, and when the game starts, you see PO3 in 3 dimensions sitting in front of you. As he's tied you to the table, and it's like, all right, now play a game with me. Very similar to Leshy, except a lot colder and a lot more nihilistic. And it seems like he's done what Leshy seems to have done before, which got to the position that you got to in Act 1. And so now that's where we are, in the cold, oppressive halls of PO3's factory, playing his version of the game, Inscryption.
Mm-hmm.
First off, how do you all feel when that happened? Did you all even feel like that was going to happen?
Not
I
really.
think,
No.
I don't think anyone thought that was gonna happen. Yes, I remember. Funnily enough, while I was fighting PO3, I thought, I wonder what would happen if this guy actually took over the game, and then I would have to fight him in the same way as how it would be in Act 1. I don't know. That's just me, guys. I don't know whether you guys felt the same way.
Oh God! But man, I love that. I was very glad that I knew. I chose to try and I chose to try and not know anything about the game, so I was glad that I did not know anything before getting to that moment. And then the game begins, and suddenly it's not really a roguelike, this version of the game. It is still deck building. It is closer to Leshy's version, where you have to build a deck, and you're stuck with that deck no matter what.
It's sort of like a midpoint between both.
Yeah, it's a midpoint between both, because it's not a roguelike. There are checkpoints. If it is a roguelike, there are checkpoints of the roguelike. Yeah. And before bosses, you can just do the boss again. You're not worried about
you're not sent back to the beginning.
Yeah. However, PO3 is very cold, very like, all right, you beat me. All right, moving on. Whereas Leshy was like, you beat the prospect as he hobbles away after being defeated. He gives a very warm narration to the whole thing. He tries to make it feel like a homely game, whereas PO3 is Just like, all right, your card is OP right now. This is how you make your cards OP. Play this.
Yeah.
And that's the feel of the game. That's the feel of that section of the game, especially. And it seems like he's doing it for a nefarious reason. He doesn't seem like he cares too much about you having a good time. And that extends to the part of the gameplay, one would argue, because he's not really, in some ways, he's not really fair in some of the things he does. But the system is different, or rather, it's what you experience in Act 2, but it's only that part, the battery charge system, and that's what you're going to be playing with in Act 3. Yeah, I think I summed it up. What that this Act 3 is about.
This small
the
point
gameplay.
about the battery part. I feel like that Act 2 was a good introduction to introduce about the battery mechanic.
Mhm.
The way they introduced it was nice instead of just suddenly dropping it on you like, here's a battery mechanic, just learn it all by yourself. Like at least you understand how it works somewhat.
Mhm.
In
I
Act 2.
disagree. I disagree in some sense because like it depends on what decision you decided to take in Act 2. Because like me personally, right? Like I went like with the full bone build in Act 2, and so like I completely ignored trying to use the battery or the magic build.
Yeah.
So like I didn't even bother trying to learn them because like I found a system that worked for me, which I feel like I mean it depends, right? If you wanted to experiment with the other cards, and which is where like you have like free like agency in this game in order to pick and choose how you want to do things, right? Which is like why they allow you to choose a starting deck and all that stuff. But like if you decide to stick to one route and you only stay on that route, like you don't really learn about how the battery one works. Which is why like when I went into Act 3, like I kind of knew, I was like, okay, I understand how this works roughly, but I still don't get it because I never use the battery at all.
I'm leaning towards what Seshan said because I did sort of when I was building my deck in Act 2, I just was like, what is this battery? I don't want to learn that.
Yeah.
I just didn't put them in my deck.
But you could have.
You could have.
You could have.
You could have.
could have.
Yeah. I think it's a choice that at the time feels insignificant, but
Yeah. But
if you look
give it
back on
option.
it, if you look back on the experience, I'm guessing Anuk, you probably did the battery card.
Yeah, it is.
I feel-
used that.
So that's what I'm saying.
every-
So like for him, it probably helped him. Whereas Faster was like,
Yeah. I feel like this highlights just how committed both the game itself is committed to its world and its rules for how not its rules but the story of the world. Because if it wanted you to know about batteries more to get you ready for Act 3, it would have sort of forced you to use batteries. But the game really didn't. It's sort of like if you don't use batteries, I guess tough shit. It doesn't make sense for us to teach you batteries or force you to learn batteries. So
yeah, but anyways, in Act 3, like they anyway ease you into sort of like
they
learning
do
the
easy. Yeah.
I think they do that in all the acts, anyways. Like they sort of ease you into how the mechanic of each one works.
Act 1 is a bit longer compared to Act 2 and Act 3. The mechanic.
well,
Act
that's the start.
That's because it's like
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I think Act 1 takes longer because it's actually setting the premise of what the entire game is like, which is like
True.
it's a deck building. You have to play cards. You'll get this many points in order to win. You have to do this. You have to do that. And like Act 2 and Act 3 sort of like
You already have a foundation to build on.
Yeah, you're a foundation to build on, so like it's easier. Like you understand, okay, it works like this, but then you like shift the rules just a bit in these other two acts, and then it ends up just like being that much easier to like sort of. That's why you sort of feel like you're speeding through Act 2 and 3, because like at that point you're just like, okay, I got through Act 1 and I understood how the game works. Now you just get used to like these modifications, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. The gameplay remains roughly the same because it's still just place your cards down and you do damage to the thing in front of you throughout all the acts.
Yeah.
More
it's just how you play your cards is always different.
Yeah.
But yeah, Act 3 is pretty substantial, but it's very mirrored. It's very mirrored to Act 2 in the sense that you move to the left and you do 2 bosses. You move to the right and you do 2 bosses.
Two bosses. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Now that you mention it, I didn't think of that. Yeah. Right.
And when you go up into the what side is this? Right. When you go up into the right, you into the land of the beasts of the wildlife. When you go to the bottom, you into the land of the dead of the well. Although he calls it something else, he calls it something far more like cynical.
He calls it
He's like-
the. I saw the names recently. Hold up, let me find them.
It's like when you go to the land of the dead, it's the stinky deadlands or something. He's like he's really
Very,
and then
very serious, very somber moment. Welcome to the stinky Deadlands.
I mean, when he starts the game, he's like, "You're in a land called Bottopia." That's
Okay,
it.
so he calls Leshy's area the foul backwater. He calls Grimora's area the filthy corpse world. And he calls Magnificus's area the gaudy gemland.
The gaudy gem.
And he calls his
Accurate.
place.
And the entire map is called Bottopia, and it's like east, west, north, south Bottopia. So like these are just areas of Bottopia.
Yeah. And like I love how he's just making it up on the spot because he doesn't care about the world.
Yeah.
And even the way you walk around the game world is so like bare bones and styleless. It's just like here's a guy, move left, move right.
Yeah.
It's like Act 1-ish. Or
It's like well, it's partially like Act 1, but Act 1 he rolls out the map and he's like, all right, you can move this way and that way. There's music playing. Whereas in PO3's world, you just hear the cold like halls of his metallic factory.
Yeah.
This bare like it's almost like just like,
and not to mention, right? He chains you up in the starting sections of the game.
Yeah. Leshy as well. Leshy lets you get up. He's like, I'm not a monster. I'll let you walk around the cabin when you want to. PO3, the only reason you can get up is like, oh, my battery died. Go get it for me. And he's a lot more oppressive. He's a lot less inviting, and so there's a chance that like when I was playing it, I felt very like, all right, let's get through this.
Yeah, same.
That was my mode as soon as Act 2.
I think it's the same thing that applies to Act 2 in that like once it's another shift. Like you got used to Act 1, then you jump to a new mechanic in Act 2. It's jarring, and then like it happens again when you move to Act 3. That like again you need to sort of like take a break in between playing the game in order to like sort of like reset your mind.
Yeah. But Act 3 has a lot more substantial stuff in terms of the cards. Like you can I guess you can plan your deck and do some crazy stuff in Act 2 as well. But I feel like Act 3 has a lot more like game breaky and sort of strategy than Act 2 in my mind. But that's also because you have to be that way because you are beholden to the cards that you draw on your as soon as your turn starts. So you have to think a little bit more than Act 2. Not as much as Act 1, but Act 3 does feel a little bit back to the strategy, which is interesting. All right, what was I going to say? So PO3, he's just taking you through bosses, and the bosses in this are a little bit quite interesting. For the game, I feel like the bosses in this are the most like crazy than even Act 1's bosses, which I feel like I want to go down. So the first one I want to go through is the one you find in Leshy's land, which is the lens or
the photographer.
The photographer, yeah. It's like I am your lens and stuff, where you can take a picture of your board and it resets the board to that picture that you took if you go back to it.
What was his mechanic?
Any thoughts on that?
What was his mechanic?
you take a picture of the board,
Yeah.
and then a turn goes by, and then you can reset the board to that old picture.
Oh.
yeah.
I didn't know because I never used that. I never understood how it
Really?
works.
You just took pictures and were like, all right, I guess.
Yeah, and I just cut it.
Yeah, I
like,
think I also did that.
Well, you
Wasn't
can
there a thing in the factory that you can take a picture of?
photographer. Yeah, it's like a side puzzle, not a main puzzle.
Oh, okay. I think
Oh,
that's
yeah,
the
yeah.
time I used the camera.
Yeah, I should mention there's also escape room elements back again once you're unhinged from your chair.
Yeah.
Which is fun.
But if I remember correctly, you could ignore most of them.
You could
You
ignore
can
most of
you could ignore 90%
You only need
of
to
it.
do the ones which
Required
PO3
to get
asked
up,
you
yeah.
to do.
Which is the bat
Yeah,
3
but
and the
everything. Whereas in Act 1, where you had to do
you sort of need
everything almost
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
to get out, here you could probably get through without doing a lot of the escape room
Yeah.
stuff.
But I think it's
You
easy
put
to
your
miss.
emotion.
It's easy to miss that photographer gimmick, I guess. Considering that me
Yeah,
and Dilanta both
I
missed
guess
it.
we missed. Anup, did you do it as well?
I
Did you
used
use
it. I used it a lot. I used it most of the time because when you can take a picture of no cards on the board, or you have like the best cards on your side and no cards on their side, you instantly win the next round.
Yeah, because you just take a
right.
picture
Yeah, I
and
guess.
and it just shifts to that set of cards.
But I
You're saying I
guess
could have done that part easier.
Yeah,
You can
basically.
yeah.
Damn it.
but I guess like that's kind of like almost like the first boss. Like it's bound
It's
to
almost
be,
the first boss.
It's almost
yeah.
the first boss, so it's bound to be somewhat
'cause
easier.
It's only, I think you're only allowed to do that boss or
Grimora's
Grimora's boss, which is the scribe
the
of
archivist.
the archivist, where that boss, when you get to that boss, it asks for permission to look in through your game files, and then not game files, your files.
Yeah,
that was those moments in Act 3 were really. I was like, wait a minute, this is my actual file.
Yeah, you were like, oh, is that my? No.
No, it can't be.
Can I ask, when they ask you for a file that's near and dear to your heart, did you pick a file that's near and
No,
dear to your heart?
I'm not giving them a follow.
I think
sorry, Sachan. I didn't. I think my thing was I was just looking for the oldest document, and
Yeah,
for some
oldest
reason,
document.
none of my documents were old. They were all like 2024 or 2023.
You know what I picked?
What?
You know what I picked? I picked the System 32.
Oh,
oh no.
jeez. There's like 2000 something.
Yeah, I know. I was like, wow, it's really old.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I picked a photo.
You can pick
go
whatever
for
you
photo.
want. You can even pick like a system. You can even pick a corrupted system, but it doesn't matter.
As long as the data is there.
Yeah, and it's and I like that PO3. Like the archivist is like, I'm going to delete this file if it dies, and then PO3 comes in and it's just like, I'm serious, I'm going to delete it.
Do you know that there's an actual thing? So if you select the file and the card dies, it creates a notepad on your
Text file.
It,
Yeah.
it creates a text file inside the game. So where the file was, and it's the same name of the file that you chose plus like deleted or something. And if you open the text file, it says, if you want to like maintain your word or something, delete this file.
That's how you get the achievement.
Yeah, it's basically saying that keep your word, delete this file.
I like that. Yeah, but the game doesn't tell you that it's not going to delete the file, but
Yeah,
it's like stressed, like my System 32 might be deleted.
That's not even pick your System 32. which let me tell you, Akshan, 99% of the people wouldn't do that.
It just asked for the oldest file. I didn't think it was going to delete it at all.
System 32.
It's the oldest file.
That's your system, man.
I was thinking ahead.
Windows.
I was thinking ahead. But yeah, so that's the archivist. Then you have Dolly.
the unfinished boss.
The unfinished boss, the one where you decide what the rules of the game are.
I hated that
every
boss.
time-
I hated him with a passion.
I liked it.
I hated
But I
it with
think
a
I-
passion.
What did you put? What did you?
I can't remember. I think it's each time you play a card, some random card takes 5 damage. And then I was like, wait.
No,
Okay.
I was like, I can't play a card.
Well,
Wait,
it's some
why
random
did
card.
wait? Why did you pick that rule?
I don't know. I thought like I was thinking in my head. I was like, okay, the enemy. I was like, when I start the game, I can. I only put one
Finish
card,
it
and
off.
the enemy has like 3-4 cards on their side, right? And I was like, if I just play one card, the maths means I can technically take down one of their cards. And I was like, wait, they're not even on the board. Shit.
So you can't play a card for your first round.
Yes.
Bro, it's like the rules of the game are broken. My brother in Christ, you wrote the rules.
Yeah, I had a much better time because I didn't do that.
I did that, right? And then there was another one where what was it? So then during my second, I think I took like 3-4 turns to beat this boss. During my second one, I did one where it was like each time a card dies, everyone takes 1 damage. And then like there's a bunch of one health cards. So then one dies, and then everyone on the board gets wiped.
Well done.
You played
Seshan,
yourself.
I thought Akshan was crazy to pick his system 32 for the archives. And then you go and do that. That's incredible. You are a challenge. You are a trooper, sir. You are a trooper.
Challenge.
You are not. I was gonna say he's a challenger, but you are a trooper.
Yes,
you are
thank
a.
I think afterwards I kind of figured out what works and what doesn't.
Oh god!
I think I can't
There's only
remember.
2 rules that can
I
help
can't
you.
remember.
You'll do 3 rules.
You do 3 rules. I can't remember which one, what I put on the top, but like I usually put random card. I feel like that was a
Oh yeah, random card gets played from
roughly
your hand.
safer. I mean, it's unpredictable, but also roughly safer way to get around that.
I think I did the every card takes 1 damage, and what I did was I just kept drawing from my what's that deck? It's not the squirrel deck. What's that called in PO3?
The normal deck, the battery deck. Or
The battery deck.
Not the battery deck. I forgot
The
what it's called.
empty something.
Empty vessel deck.
Empty
vessel deck.
Empty vessels. So I just kept playing empty vessels because they have 2 health. So I just empty vessel. Then everyone takes damage on his side. Empty vessel. Everyone takes damage on his side.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
that was-
you all could change to empty vessels, right? You all know
What?
Oh yeah,
you can upgrade your empty vessels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like those.
Yeah.
I just gave all of mine
Yeah.
Sentry.
That's a good.
Good
strat.
I gave it Sentry.
Oh, I
I gave it Sentry and Thorns.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
What did I give? I gave it a +1 to the charge.
Oh,
I think I get you get 3,
Oh.
right? So I think I had all 3 of
You
those.
get 3,
Then.
yeah.
I had +1 to
Yeah,
the
yeah,
charge,
you get
Thorns, and Sentry. So like a card comes down 1 damage. It attacks the empty vessel, another damage.
I have
Yeah.
the power.
Yeah, I think I got lucky with. Oh no, that was not on those. But I got lucky with one of the cards that I have being a sentry, which kills immediately.
No,
which had the death
touch
one.
of death. Yeah.
Touch of death. Yes, that was fun to do. And then finally we have the final boss, which is Golly,
Golly.
who goes through the internet and makes your Steam friends list fight you.
Yeah, I had to fight a lot of people.
I died to Delanta a lot. Twice.
Yeah.
I almost died to you, Akshat.
I'm trying to remember. I think that the only person I got from us is Anuk. Everyone else was just another. Yeah.
I also got everyone except I think I got Akshan. I can't remember, but everyone else was like mostly people from like work.
I don't think I have that many. Yeah, I guess I have quite a few Steam friends.
Yeah. What else can you do? Oh yeah, okay. This is part of that area but you're able to make a card.
Oh
Ah.
yeah.
What card did you make? What did
Big
you call
Stinky, Big
I
Stinky
think
3000?
I sent mine to Akshan. I remember.
it? The screw you,
I am Mr. Screw You.
Mr. Screw you.
What's the default name? Is it Big Stinky
Big Sticky.
3000?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
something
think
like
I
that.
think the card I didn't even bother because saying Big Stinky.
But no one was
3000.
online for me to send it to. So
Yeah, even for me as well. I remember. It
Oh
was
no,
like
no.
connecting.
That always happens. That always happens because it
Then
wants you
how
to
do you
make
send-
because it wants to see if you are making a if you're trying to troll someone, and it just throws it back at you. If you are trying to troll someone, you're screwed.
Oh wait, how did you send each other? How did Seshan send his card to you?
No.
He sent me a picture of it.
Oh, I thought okay.
No, he didn't.
I thought it was meant to. Okay, fine, cool.
However, I do think they actually do send that card off to a server, so then someone else who plays the game sees.
but then you get a
your
card.
Yeah.
But then you get a card from someone else, where they say that
Exactly. So I think it does
I
happen. It
guess.
just trolls you.
But it could also just be a randomly generated.
It could.
Yes. I wonder none of us tried playing this without internet. Yeah.
For that particular part, no. So
we
Should have
didn't
done that.
expect it.
Goddamn. Should have done that. But that was fun. The Screw You was my card, and the way I did it was I put Brittle, and I put Undying on it.
Oh,
So
Lord.
I put it down. It did 4 damage, and it came back to my hand immediately.
Very nice.
Big Stinky 3000 also had Undying.
Yeah, and it cost nothing.
Oh wow.
It was brilliant.
You saw built the card.
I built the card, the system. But yeah, those are some of the mechanics that you get through in Act 3, and it was a lot more. It was the most gamey part of the game, besides the DLC. Because you could easily break the game with that one as well. It was fun. But yeah, those were the bosses. Those were some of the mechanics that you get. Any favorite cards from that section?
Oh yeah,
Sniper card.
Sniper card. Just
I think Sniper card. The only reason it's not a powerful card, but I think it's cool that you can just take it and shoot.
Choose where to shoot.
Yeah.
I personally like the Sentry.
Sentry's fun.
Sentry's fun.
I had a very interesting card. So there's one boss where you can combine cards together, or the cards get combined together, right?
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah.
secret boss. Interestingly, you have to do something
Oh
in
yeah,
Act 2
the
to unlock
mycologist.
that boss.
The
mycologist.
The mycologist.
You-
So I was looking through the map in Act 2, so I found the mycologist hut, and then I got it. And then once you're going to one part of the map, then you can see there's like a small arrow on the side, right?
Yeah, there are like
Awesome.
secret pathways in the map exploration in Act 3.
So you get the key. You get the
Yeah, you
key
get the
from
key.
Act 2.
Yeah.
So you get one for. You get one key for the mycologist after combining one of every card from each region of in Act 2, and then you get another key from the Bone Lord, which also accesses.
The Bone.
Which
That helps
accesses
you know something
another.
else.
It accesses like another part of the map in Act 3.
Yeah.
So in the mycologist, since it's like a combining kind of a mechanic, so imagine Ouroboros with Undying. No, not Undying. Ouroboros with was it Omni or something like that? So yeah, it had Omni or some. I can't remember what
Yeah,
was
that's
the
the
other
double
mechanic.
strike.
Yeah,
It's
double
bang,
strike.
bang.
Yeah. So imagine that, but 100 odd damage with the Omni combined,
And it was unkillable.
unkillable.
I mean, if it has 100 damage, what's the point in double striking other than coins?
I mean, because it anyways ends up combining, right? You can't help it.
Oh, I just remembered one of the things I did in my first time playing. For the empty vessels, I remember I put the +1
Battery.
to the charge meter,
Mm.
but also it had unkillable. So I put it down, killed it with a hammer, put it down, killed it with a hammer, pull it down, killed it with a hammer, and I got full charge, and I could play my strongest card.
Oh dear Lord.
I remember now the first act. Good Lord.
And the Ouroboros in Act 3 is, I think, is 4 or 5 batteries. I can't remember
It's
which
no,
one.
it's
It's
six.
It's 5 batteries.
It's 5 batteries, right?
Five.
And since this was combined, my Ouroboros or so kind of OP card cost only one battery.
Okay, that's why you thought it cost only one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Every time it pulled up, I was like, yep, I'm winning. Finished.
Well, I'm done.
That's
We won this game.
Show is over, folks. Show is over.
One combination I found out was that if you have the double strike with the sniper, you can choose 2 spots on the board to shoot.
Oh yeah.
That was fun. But yes, there was one other thing about the gameplay that I'm forgetting. God only knows.
There's also like
Okay.
utilities in this.
Oh yeah, there are.
In this, right? There's like the whole.
2 you find and 1 you buy.
Yeah. I only used the
Yeah.
bomb wipe. I've never used anything else. I don't think I used nano shield.
I never used nano shield.
I
I use the recharge.
I have used the recharge and bomb wipe. I've only used those 2.
Yeah, that's fair. Fun stuff. And then after you finish all those bosses, PO3 is just like, what?
The great
you want an award?
transcendence.
No, the great transcendence awaits. And then you go and do
and
it.
then the gang shows up and like, what are you doing, man?
I'm a bust you now. So let's go into any other thoughts about the gameplay of Act 3? Just the gameplay, not really the story either. Nothing? Cool. Let's jump into talking about the story of this game, because at this point we've gone into major spoilers. I think I put the warning already, but hey, if you don't want to know about the story, I guess from now on, we're just going to talk about the story and the plot and the world and what everything happens. Spoiler warning.
Do we quickly not want to like talk about what happens at the end of Act 3 and then the finale?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Spoiler. The whole world of Inscryption is in a floppy disk. All the characters are in this floppy disk, and the floppy disk is found by Luke Carter. He's the lucky Carter.
Not to be mistaken, action card.
Not to mistake.
True. Yeah, I know.
Your long lost brother.
Yes, he's dead now. Spoiler.
Jesus.
No, he's dead in the game.
I know, but we haven't gotten to that part yet.
We're in spoiler territory. If you were here, if you skipped here. So, the whole game, and the game is consistent to this. The whole game is a recording of Luke Carter playing the game.
Yeah.
And you also get snippets of his recordings that he's doing for his YouTube channel, which is the Lucky Carter, and he does cards. Pack opening video. He wants that shiny Transcend dog. I still remember that. I don't know why. And he stumbles upon this game, Inscryption, and he messages Game Funa, the creators of Inscryption, and they are very aggressive when they tell him this does not exist, but if you have something that does exist, send it to us or we will sue you to hell and back.
Yeah.
And then a woman comes over who it's an indie game, so they couldn't hire the best actors, but just the acting is fine. It's not the greatest acting in the world. And I think Luke Card is played by I might be very wrong. Who plays Luke Card? Is it played by the creator of the game? No,
No,
it's
it's not.
Kevin
No,
Sack.
it's not.
No, it's not.
They're hiring
There's a in the credits it says a different actor. I've got the guy's name, but it's not
Yeah.
not the same guy.
Yeah, he does fine enough playing a cringy YouTuber.
Which would have had me. That would have done fantastic.
Should have had you. If only. And this woman comes over and basically sticks a foot in the door, trying to interrogate him essentially about his ownership of this game. He goes a little bit stir crazy, a little bit crazy, not stir crazy, just crazy, as he's playing this game. And then we see him playing the game, and our perspective, for some reason, he's not recording the screen. He's putting a camera in front of the screen and recording it that way, which was very funny. I don't think they had OBS back then. The game goes into this whole thing about the old data and the scribes knowing about the old data and what their motivations are regarding this game. And they hint at the fact that Magnificus did this first, and that Casey had to deal with Magnificus's bullshit, and then who was this fellow? Leshy did it next, and now we're dealing with PO3 dealing with it. Who's doing this? Who's taking over the game? But PO3 has a different goal. He wants to he accessed the internet, took pictures for the games for the game Steam page, and all of that, to try and publish this whole game onto the web and sort of make Inscryption, the game that he made, available everywhere, which is really meta. This whole game is very, very meta, because it's a game about games, and it's about a game. And I think that's enough to go into the ending of the game, unless we have other thoughts about what happens in that story leading up to that.
I have like a thing about it that I found out, which I don't know. Do I want to talk about that now?
Maybe after we talk about the ending.
After we talk about it. Yeah. So the ending of the game is PO3 tries to upload the stuff, but Leshy is like, no, and pulls his head off. And then they're going to start the game again, start new game folder. But then Grimora gets a hold of the game. And unlike the other three, she deletes the whole game. And you play through as all of these characters and all of their worlds start getting deleted one by one. And first off, it is absurd that they put resources into making Grimora's world and level design and card battling, because that is a lot of resources to have for just the epilogue-ish ending.
Yeah.
Where you play a battle against her. Like it was like when you do damage, you're knocking on the freaking wood. Like the hands come out and knock on the wood to do damage. It is absurd that those they put. And I when I got to that point, I looked in the book, and there are custom mechanics for the Bone gameplay that are just for that world, for her game. But we don't play it because we just get to the end and oh shit. I guess we didn't have enough time. She shakes her hand and goes to Leshy's world.
Yeah.
It was absurd that it was absurdly impressive that they put like the effort to make this make sense and consistent.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like it's like amazing. And then we get to Leshy, very melancholic, like let's just play. We don't need the scales.
Hang on, before Leshy, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
The Yu-Gi-Oh section was the biggest.
I think that's after Leshy.
Is that after Leshy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Leshy ends, and then you get to Yu-Gi-Oh section. And that guy,
sorry.
The game files are deleting.
That's my fault. Okay. Sorry, Leshy. Yeah, Leshy next.
And he you have your own power glove. You're lucky to have that.
I hated that section.
I hated that section. Oh my. Okay. Anyway, Leshy.
So bad.
I felt sad for Leshy.
Yeah.
I felt sad for Leshy in his section because he genuinely wanted to just play his Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get to Magnificus, and it's like nobody else.
I hate that.
If I didn't
I'm
check
sorry.
before, I hate that section.
They built that up so beautifully. As soon as like you put the deck on, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is so amazing. And then they're like, guess what section this is gonna be? The magic section. And I was like, you were the chosen one.
And it was
that
so-
was such a letdown. That alone is gonna drop my game score. I'm very sorry. That alone is gonna drop my game score.
The entire
Just
magic
that
mechanic
alone.
is like absolute stupid.
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah.
I feel like
The
I'm
thing
the
I
only
like-
one who's okay with it.
It's
No, it's okay. It's all. Are you talking about magic or that section?
Magic.
Magic.
Magic. Okay, magic is okay.
no, it's
There's
not. Don't
actually
lie to yourself. It's not okay.
no. I'll put it this way. When you compare to the other game types and like the other deck types and stuff, that's kind of
Probably on par.
yeah.
I
That's
guess.
probably what the way that he would have wanted it to be. But it's not the best. It far from it.
Yeah,
it
it's
is
not.
it is like the lowest.
You know what I don't like about it the most? When you're in Act 2, if you destroy his gems, his characters don't die.
Yeah.
It's cheating. It's cheating.
Honestly, it's just like, "How you make this happen to me, it happens to you." Because unless it happens to his cards, if you like, you do things.
Yeah.
I don't like. I just don't like. I don't like.
But this is coming from the dude who locked up his pupils, so
Even
coming
still.
from the dude who locked up his pupils.
Yeah.
I thought you said something else other than pupils, and I was confused.
okay. I don't know what you heard, but let's move on.
I also don't know. So anyway, in conclusion, the Yu-Gi-Oh
Pimples.
section was a massive letdown. Anyone involved in that should.
It was cool
take-
music.
Okay,
Cool music.
okay, the design of it and everything is cool. The cards itself is what is the letdown.
Yeah, the card mechanics.
Yeah.
And
I also think because it was in its like that deleting process, that also kind of took away from it. Like
no,
its impressiveness.
I don't think so. I feel like it was
For me personally, it was like
It was the most barren.
yeah, I was just like
Yeah.
thinking about like the like distortion and then magic. I think that combination was just like
the worst part about that section is that
fever. Yeah.
the worst part about that section is that I thought I had to battle until one of us reaches all the way down to 0 from 400. I was like,
I mean, I thought that as well, but then I the way the game was like deleting, I was like, okay, probably.
Actually, could you actually just wait it out and just let it delete by itself since it was going down already? I was
Probably
planning to
not.
do that,
You
but
could.
then
probably not. I think
I
but it
would
was
guess-
going down.
I think it requires you to sort of like play the game still and
I would guess not, yeah, because
Yeah.
it doesn't progress.
It
like,
does.
No, it
Oh,
doesn't
no, not-
progress fast.
Yeah,
It's-
that's of course true.
It's very steady, so like I think it also moves on depending on how you progress through that section.
Yes. I think if it's just most of my criticism of that section was just the gem system. I wish the gem system was better.
Yep.
I
I think
still
if
don't
it wasn't
understand how
if
those
it
cards
wasn't a
work.
Yu-Gi-Oh theme section, I think I would look at it like I would still hate Magic, but I would probably
Yeah.
look at it more favorably. The fact that
Less
they
disappointment.
the fact that they invoked Yu-Gi-Oh for that, and then put Magic into it.
Oh god! But
It's getting a low. It's getting a low rating from me for that. Just that.
just for that, just for those
For that.
10
Kill it.
minutes
Kill
of
it.
gameplay.
Kill it. I've given my
but-
rating. Kill it.
Thank you. It's already dead, as we remember.
Oh, okay.
But at the end of that, you go back to your 2D self and you start walking around and you meet the let's call him the knowledge keeper or something. I don't know. The guy who's like, I know about the old data, the old game files, and he's just like, if you want to see them, I know you are. You go up and you see the old game files. Not even game files, you just see the old data, which
Yeah.
is a bunch of redacted stuff that you don't really get to see. But clearly, it really upsets it and scares Luke Carter. And
so much so that he
Then-
smashes the floppy disk.
He smashes the floppy disk, not realizing that he could just snap it into. But then he calls a journalist, and the journalist is talking to him, and he's asking questions. He's getting his notepad ready. But then the woman comes back, and Luke Carter, smart Alec, goes up and opens the door for her, and then she shoots him in the face. And then the game ends. And so that ending in mind, it clouds the whole thing in what context this is in. Like, what is the context of this whole thing? Because it draws the question: what are you? Because you're the guy watching the game. You're the guy watching these videos. So who are you? And I want to ask. I think Seshan knows a little bit more, maybe because I
Actually,
feel like that's
no,
what you're.
no, that
you don't know.
no, I don't.
All right. What does everyone? What do you think you are? Who are you? What am I saying?
Who am I?
The person watching all these videos, who do you think they are? And you are essentially playing them. So who are you in the whole context of the game? Who do you think you are? Because there's not a strong answer. So I just want to know, what did y'all think?
Actually, I might have an answer from based on the story, but I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, sure. You can answer with it.
So the entire it comes from the story, right? It's the entire premise of what PO3 is trying to do is he's basically trying to take Inscryption to the world, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So in the sense is that like you are experiencing the game as the player itself. So it's like essentially you are you is what I'm getting from that entire experience.
Okay. I see. I can
Wait,
see.
sorry, Seshan, could you repeat that again?
So PO3's objective,
Right.
main objective was basically to get this game out to everyone. Which, if you think of it in like a meta sense, right? The game is available on Steam for people to purchase, download, and play.
Right.
And so you are essentially playing as yourself. You get it?
As in, like, it's similar to. I don't want to spoil the game. I'm not going to spoil the game. But there's a game where the game itself is like, I even told you in the Steam description on my Steam page. You're saying even like from the Steam page itself, the story began.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe you are like, maybe like all this information is like part and parcel of the game, and like it's meant to be seen in that sense. You know what I mean? Like it's like it's meta within meta.
I might agree with that. I think the only thing stopping me from fully agreeing is that you're still looking through video files instead of playing the game. And you're even seeing video files that PO3 did not record, which is later on when Luke Carter is smashing the floppy disk and stuff.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like that's why I said I'm not 100% sure.
In my mind, I'm thinking
they don't. Sorry, Akshay, just before you say your thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think they really give you any indication other than like you being the player. Which the more that I say it out loud, the more it doesn't really make sense.
Because you are
like
Luke Carter,
it's kind of like a no shit Sherlock type of thing. Like obviously you are the player looking at it. I don't know. Sorry. Anyway, continue.
I thought you are Luke Carter because you see snippets of your.
Well, you can't be Luke Carter because
you're also watching
Luke Carter or Lucky Carter.
Luke Carter.
No, he's Luke Carter, and so
His channel is the Lucky Carter, right?
His channel is the Lucky Carter, right? I see. Okay.
You can't be Luke Carter because
I'm thinking too much about Luke Carter. I forgot the point I was going to make.
You can't be Luke Carter because you're watching.
You can't be Luke Carter because you're watching and he's dead.
Yeah, so I feel like you are Luke Carter as the I don't know whether this is right to say it, but you are the soul of Luke Carter who was placed into the car.
Oh, I I don't think so. Just because even like, let's say, like one thing I've noticed, if you try and replay the game, you can go back, but the way you go back and select chapters is by selecting the video file you want to watch.
Yeah.
Like the game, it's like the game itself. When you start it, it's giving you an option of what video do you want to watch, and it's always like you're watching Luke Carter playing the game, but you are playing Luke Carter in some weird way as well.
But doesn't that make sense if you yourself are the player? You think of it less as the game and more like you are like you think about it like this, right? Like you I think we've had this discussion before, like in terms of like outside of Inscryption, is that like gaming is an art form that allows you to sort of interact with the medium, in that it's kind of like a movie, but you get to play the character. So in a similar sense, right? It's like we are watching things unfold, but you sort of get distracted with the fact that you're actually the one playing the game.
Yeah.
So in a sense,
I think-
this entire Inscryption thing could not be a game, but it could be us, the viewer, watching what happened to Luke Carter, and we were watching his actions and how he played the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so I think we're in agreement, except unless Anuk, do you disagree with this statement? We're in agreement that we're watching Luke Carter playing the game. We're not playing the game.
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I also feel that way
Oh.
because like even in parts of things, like when like things glitch out and stuff, you can hear his voice in the background saying, "Oh shit! Oh
Yeah, like,
this!
come
Oh
on."
that! Come on, yeah."
So you're not the player. You're just watching him play.
You're just watching him
Luke play.
Okay. Yeah.
You're
Okay.
what-
Fine.
no.
Yeah. that
No,
makes
like
sense, that makes sense.
it's like the difference. Like imagine like a movie that you watch, right? That same movie, like story for story is recreated as a game. The only difference in the game is that you are the one actually controlling the character, and like you are like immersed into the game, right?
Right.
But now just imagine that you weren't the one playing it, then all of a sudden it becomes like a movie. The story is still
Yeah.
the same and things play out. It's just that you're not involved in it. So, which is where I feel like you have to sort of like take yourself out of the game. Just imagine that you aren't actually the one playing, and just imagine Luke Carter is the one that's playing. And then it ends up making sense.
But wouldn't that mean that Luke Carter is the player?
No.
Well, because there's still a game. There's just there's not a movie. When you are watching Luke Carter play, you are playing Luke Carter.
Yeah.
But you are still playing Luke Carter. You are not playing the game that Luke Carter was playing earlier.
Yeah.
You get me? It's
Luke
like you're not
Carter.
Luke. You are playing Luke when you are watching Luke.
Yeah.
As
Basically.
gamers. However, in the world of when you start the game and you are seeing all these video files and all that, the person watching it, you think that it's the gamer?
Yeah. Yeah. You are the like
Okay.
let's refer to that like that, right? You are the gamer who's like watching these things unfold. So just like ignore the gameplay aspects of it, like Akshan said. You are essentially just watching something. You are watching his recordings. Even the parts where you actually play are, in a sense, his Luke Carter's run-throughs of the game.
Yeah, that's basically what our general consensus I think is on that. I think the part I'm disagreeing with is probably that it's a player playing the game, because I think one, PO3 was interrupted while he was uploading the thing, and two, what we see is some stuff that PO3 never would have uploaded because the floppy disk was out of the computer. So that's mostly where I don't think that's the case.
So it's
What I
either-
think
You think we're someone at
think
Game
is the
Funa?
case. I think it's either someone at Game Funa or the journalist that he was talking to at the end.
Maybe.
I'm wondering whether the journalist managed to get copies of the game, but it doesn't explain why certain things are redacted.
Yeah.
It's probably Game Funa then.
I think it's an employee at Game Funa just watching the footage.
KC.
Casey's dead.
Casey's dead. When
Okay.
the game because the
Yeah.
way Luke
That's very-
gets the game.
No, no.
big silence
Yeah.
there.
That's
sorry?
actually like the story I was gonna talk about. Akshan is like the origins of the game.
The origins of the game, the devil.
You want me? I kind of want to go into it, but like you let me know when.
We can go into that at the end of this because I
Yeah.
want to do one other thing, which is I don't have any evidence of this, mainly because I'm just going off a feeling from what I remember. I don't have like hard evidence, but from my memory, I think Magnificus was the first person to do this,
What?
to hijack the game in the way that Leshy and PO3 end up doing it, because the way they talk about it, the way that they condescend Magnificus at points, it feels like, oh, this is the guy who figured it out first,
Maybe.
and then Leshy took it, and then PO3 was like, I'm doing this to y'all now.
Mm.
And then Grimora was the last person. So everyone had a chance at taking over the game, and Grimora, being the scribe of death, decided to kill it.
Yeah.
And
Interesting.
it was interesting to me. Casey's littered all over the game. Like you can find random game files where it's just like a family picture of Casey in the holidays or something.
Mhm.
What was Luke? It was like either way. Some weird stuff. But yeah, did y'all find in Act 2? Did y'all walk into like a secret room and find game folders
Yes.
and pictures of redacted stuff?
Yeah, I did.
No, how was that?
I didn't.
It
I
was
saw like
pretty-
the one was in the forest, one was in no, two were
Yeah.
in the forest, right? Two or one, I can't remember. Two was in the
think
forest,
one.
and then
One
the
might
other
be
one
two.
was, I forgot where the other one was. I think it was in the tower, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But yeah, there were a few
I think there was
pictures.
something in the tower. I think I remember that.
But there in total, I think
in
were
the
three
tower.
or four, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, yeah. It's the game never explains what these things are. They give hints to it and they redact a lot of it. So although it doesn't affect the story too much, just because the story is surrounding this thing, it's not about this thing. It's just like sort of like littered around the area. It fleshes out the world, and it's the reason Game Foda wants the game back, clearly, because they did some stuff to make that happen. Yeah, I think it's fair to. Any other thoughts before Seshan goes into what the game is really about and all that?
I did read up about it a bit, but it's something to do with the
Alright.
world data.
Yeah.
Same.
All right. So Seshan, you go into it, and Anuk, you add in if there's anything more that
Yeah.
you.
So
Take
this
a minute.
this is mostly a. I'm not too sure. I think it was pieced together by lots of people from the Inscryption Reddit, and then obviously compiled as a video, a 3-part series, put on YouTube from the Game Theorists platform by Matt Pett. So shout out there for that, where I got the information from.
Maddie Patty.
Yes, Matty Petty. Basically, there's basically conversations that you can uncover within the game. I think most of it you can get from there's like hidden codes and stuff like that you can like input into the game, and there are codes from like other Daniel Mullins, right? David or Daniel Mullins. There are codes in other Daniel Mullins games also that come back to the Inscryption thing, where you can, and there's like a whole massive like internet-wide treasure hunt sort of to find different codes. Even there was like an actual buried floppy disk also in the real world. And then there was also things where like people were mailed certain parts of like a code, and like there was like a massive thing in order to sort of like uncover the secrets behind Inscryption. And so like what everyone was able to uncover was this sort of like conversation happening between like these 4 to 5 individuals. And what it seemed to like sort of like basically the gist of the story was that like they had covered this. It's not really the origins on like how the old data or like whatever was made, but basically the whatever they call the old data was uncovered off the body of like a. It was. Uh, I'm sorry
You
if
can
I'm
say the
wrong.
name.
I'm sorry if I'm wrong about this, but it was, I think, taken off the body of Hitler or some other Nazi
No, it's
soldier
Hitler.
or
It was
something.
Hitler.
Yeah,
No, it's
it
Hitler.
was Hitler. Okay, yeah. It was taken off the body of Hitler, right? That's where like the origins of it start from. They took it off. It's like whole wartime propaganda stuff. And from there, it made its way to Game Funa. And so basically, the old data is considered some sort of a coding or something that allows game characters to gain sentience. So that was when it was added on to Inscryption, is what allowed the scribes within the game to actually gain sentience and sort of learn to take over the game and stuff like that. And so when Casey discovered that, she tried to figure out a way to sort of like stop that from happening. And so she placed basically a hard lock and a soft lock on the game. The hard lock being physically burying and hiding the floppy disk away. The soft lock being actually putting Leshy in charge, because Leshy is the only scribe out of the four that doesn't have a ulterior motive that would be detrimental overall to the world. PO3 wanted to upload the entire game and let the old data out everywhere. Grimora wanted to kill the entire game off. I can't remember what Magnificus wanted to do, but it wasn't that good either. Leshy was the only scribe that wanted to basically just play games. So he was the soft lock on the game, and the reason why you start Inscryption off in Leshy's cabin. Yeah, that's it.
Interesting.
But hey, it's just theory.
No, I mean,
Game.
Games. Just as a note, all of Daniel Mullins' games are sort of games about game characters gaining sentience. So, and this is a spoiler because his first two games, or not first two, but the two games, the Hex, I played that, and Pony Island I haven't, but I know of it. Both of them sort of are playing in worlds where these game characters gain sentience and want to ascend in some way. Inscryption is probably his best one, and his most popular one. So yeah, if you want to experience something like this, or you're interested in themes like these, check out those games as well. The Hex is pretty good. Yeah, cool stuff. Any other thoughts about the story? Because we've jabbered on for a long time now.
I don't think there's anything else to cover, honestly.
Honestly, yeah, I feel we covered the whole thing, except for the last thing we'll talk about today: achievements. And clearly, our achievement hunter has gotten all the achievements for us, so he can let us know what the achievements are. Please tell us.
Let me preface by saying this. I got all the achievements from the base game and decided not to do the DLC for reasons I will clarify right after. So the base game DLC, which I think most people should only care about at this point, fairly straightforward. The majority of the achievements are for actually completing certain parts of the game and progressing throughout the game, with about 2 or 3 achievements being for some additional things that you can do within the game itself, which you might not necessarily come across if you go through the run blind, because it takes a lot of exploration in order to actually reach that. But later on with guides and as such, you are able to get those achievements fairly easily. So I'll say for the base game, the achievements are fairly easily obtainable and stuff like that, and maybe might require like playing the game twice over if you decide to go in blind the first time. So when it comes to Casey's mod, I think is like where things really start amping up, I guess. And
I probably have more to say about Casey's mod because I've gotten some of the achievements.
yeah, it's a lot harder. There's a lot more challenges to do. You probably need to put in maybe as much time as the base game, maybe even more into playing
No,
it.
you have to put in far more time than the base
you
game just because it's
far.
harder. It's a lot harder, a lot more strategy intensive. So you'll spend a lot of time just staring at the screen, like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I
Yeah,
gonna do? Okay.
and a lot of the cheese mechanics are taken out and such, which makes the achievements that much more difficult. So, and sadly, because the DLC achievements are a part of the Steam achievements, it makes 100% in the game quite the task and quite the time-consuming thing. So, if you do not want to add a game that is going to leave a mark on your perfect 100% achievement tracking, I don't recommend. Or if you are able to commit the time to this, then you go ahead. But personally, I'm not going to go ahead with it.
If you're a fan of the strategy, like sort of gameplay, this really strategy intensive card dealing gameplay, and you are fine with like diving into the hardest depths of it, because the harder challenges in Casey's mod is very hard. You go ahead, and also if you don't get achievements, obviously, you go ahead.
Yeah, because like one of the achievements is like playing a run with every challenge active, and
Yes,
that's probably hell. But yeah.
I tried it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go?
I got the prospector, and the second round he puts down.
Of
He
all of
fills his
grizzlies.
board with grizzlies. Yeah. Yeah,
Jeez.
grizzlies that you can't fly over.
Oh, maybe.
You can't fly over them, and squirrels don't have block because they're aqua squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels don't block because they are aqua. They go underneath, and so the enemies will attack your board. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's a lot. If you are doing that, I recommend you go get a third life, as in like in game, not like go out and get a life. I mean, get a third life from the painting.
I think we've
You know, I
spoken.
actually thought you were talking.
I think
Just kidding.
we have spoken enough on this game now, Akshan. Let's.
Yeah, I think it's clever enough. Yeah. So, Mrs. Fredrickson would like us to rate this game now, the game that she selected.
Mm.
So let's start with me, since I'm the closest person to Mrs. Fredrickson. She wants to know what I think first. Since one could like, because I let her choose, one could even argue that I picked it. So this game, when I first played it, loved it quite a bit, and especially the first act, second act, third act. It was oppressive and like more difficult and overwhelming, and not as atmospheric as the first act. But I really liked the consistency in the storytelling, that it did not handhold you or like break consistency to make the game easier or more streamlined. And even though it was more difficult and more annoying at points, I applaud the commitment to consistency there. In Casey's mod, I'm enjoying playing on my own time. Yeah, I like this game quite a bit. I would give it a try it. Just because it is still a deck building card game. If you don't care about that, don't play.
Am I going next?
Yeah, so try.
Yeah.
Then we'll go. Yeah, you next.
Okay. Let's see. Personally,
keep in mind, you gave Heavy Rain a try.
I know. I gave Heavy Rain a try, but sadly, I'll say the rating, but then I have to. I'll back up my.
Back it up.
I'll back it up. Sadly, it is going to be less than Heavy Rain. It's going to be a considerate for Inscryption. Reason being this, right? So personally, I would say I enjoyed the game to a certain degree, but in the end, even though I personally liked it, and I can't in good conscience like tell people to try it, because I do not think it's for everyone. I think it's something that you need to. I feel like it's like, personally speaking, like I feel like we are the type of people that will try any game, if given the chance to. It's like even if it's like way out of our comfort zone, we will try the game and like give it a shot, right? But I feel like for the vast majority of people, like it seems like in a niche corner of gaming that like you really need to consider whether you want to get into this or not. Which is the only reason I'm saying consider it. It is a good game. I'm just saying that I'll say it like this. If you like the way the game looks and now that you know about like what the game entails and you're interested by it and you think it's something that you like, if you like roguelikes, if you like deck building games, card games, strategy games, I would full on say like go ahead and get it. But overall, I'd have to say consider it because if you are not interested in those things, you're not gonna enjoy playing this game at all.
I will ask you this: if you were telling yourself like a version of you that hasn't played this game, what would you give it?
Probably,
Would you ask them
I'd
to try
probably
it
still
or
say
to consider it?
I'd probably still say consider it, right? Because like honestly, I wouldn't play this game if you didn't tell me to.
And you're a better man for it. No, I'm kidding.
No better man than me.
Because like I don't know, like I looked at I've seen this game, right? Because you've
It's
spoken about it
talking.
beforehand.
Yeah.
And like I looked at it and like I don't think I added it to my wish list because like it didn't resonate with me in that regard. Like I'm not averse to trying new games and stuff like that, but like it didn't seem like the type of game I would personally enjoy. That being said,
Yeah,
right?
from our conversations about it, it didn't seem like your kind of game as you were playing it anyway. So I was like, yeah, all right.
Yeah, so which is why I say consider it, right? Like even if I enjoyed the game very much, which certain aspects of I genuinely did, I would still have to tell people that to consider it heavily because it's not really a game that anyone can pick up and really play, right? Which is why I would say that like in the end that Heavy Rain takes the try it instead of consider it is because like it has a level of
Easier.
it has a level that it makes it a little bit more accessible to certain people, whereas Inscryption is a lot more. There's a lot more like you need to think about when you're picking up the game. Because like I feel like it's a game that you can easily not saying that Heavy Rain isn't one of them, but like I feel like Inscryption is a game that you can more easily drop at any point and never continue ever. Dilantav.
Funnily enough, I was actually gonna say I get it because, but then you beat me to it. So.
I mean, it's true, right? Like it's one of those games. If you weren't forced to do it, you probably wouldn't come back to it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's a part of the reason I'm saying try it, because I think if you didn't enjoy the first bit, for example, in my head, Undertale is a complete it. Because if you don't enjoy the first bit of Undertale, I would still tell you complete it because you might love it by the end.
Yeah.
Because I didn't enjoy the first bit of Undertale, but then I completed. I was like, my lord, this is one of the best games I've played.
I guess, but you also need to have that perseverance. I mean, in general, you need to have that perseverance as well to keep going.
Here's the thing, right? Like I do not deny that like games like Undertale and Inscryption are great games in their own right, but I feel like it's only for like a selective group of people that are actually willing to.
Inscryption and Undertale are great works of art.
Yeah.
More than they are fun toys.
Yeah.
Let's call it.
Yeah. So with that in mind, right? Like, which is why I said that. Like, even though I love Undertale as well, I would also like heavily have to give it a consider it if that was like on the table for like being rated, because it falls in the same category of like if you aren't the type of person that would enjoy these games, you could easily just drop it at that point, and for that reason, I can't in good conscience say.
All right. Yeah, no, I think we get your point. I think I understand. I think everyone understands your point of view. Anuk, let's go on.
Mine would be consider it, but I was thinking of doing a skip it after. Okay, initially it was going to be a skip it because of Act 1. But then after playing Act 2 and Act 3, I was thinking, maybe bump it up a little bit, going to consider it. But yeah, that's my take.
All right then. Delanta.
Very short.
Well, kill it.
This is the
Because
third
of the
time you've done
Yu-Gi-Oh.
this, Dilata.
Because of the Yu-Gi-Oh.
Is it?
Because-
Yes,
It
you
is.
did it.
Oh yeah.
You did it for Lethal Company. You did it for the last campfire. You can't do it again.
Okay, fine.
Unless you actually want to kill it.
No, I don't. I think I'm also on the considerate line. I think it's a really good game, especially if you like card game, like not even just the roguelike card game. I think if you like card games in general, like Hearthstone, Gwent, Magic the Gathering, I think you will enjoy Inscryption for that aspect. Even though there are changes in the gameplay at certain points, it's still a pretty good card game for that. Of course, there's an ending to it, and then and you do have Casey's mod, which continues the story, I guess. But I think it's still worth. If you do like those type of games, it's still something to consider. I think it's a very well made in that regard.
Yeah, I think I understand the considerates. I can understand the considerates. However, keep
Yeah.
in mind these fools gave Heavy Rain a try, so take that into consideration.
I mean, I gave you my. I think we all are in the same boat for that, right? It's
No. I understand it. I'm just salty about Heavy Rain. I'm not mad about this. I'm mad about Heavy Rain still. Okay, that thing should die in a fire. All right, so that's the end. That's the end of the game playlist.
All right.
Thank you
All
very
up,
much
all
for
up.
watching.
we're not doing this again. All right. Last part before we go. We got 4 videos up on the channel. This being one of it, the one on Inscryption, which was recommended by Akshan. We got
No, Mrs. Fredrickson.
by Akshan. The first episode was on Heavy Rain, which was the pick of Dilanta. We got episode number 2, which is on Lethal Company, which is Anuk's pick, and episode number 3, which is The Last Campfire, which was my pick. So if you enjoyed this video, consider checking those out and see what reviews on those are. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, whatever. Check out Spotify, Instagram, whatever. We've got shorts and everything. And
Just watch the episode over again on all of those channels.
Please appreciate our editor's hard work.
yeah.
Thank you very much.
And
Thank you
also,
very much.
next 4 games have already been decided. In May, we're going to be doing Viewfinder. In June, we got Core Keeper. July brings Journey, and what's up to July? August. August brings us Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds.
Outer Wilds.
Yeah, and that's
Exciting stuff. All right. So thank you for watching the game playlist. Or listening, whatever you want. Or reading.
What?
If you're
Reading.
watching with subtitles.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
Yeah,
all.
maybe.
people who are audio impaired might be just reading with subtitles.
Yes.
True. We
Uh,
accept.
Well, Anuk, guess you're working on
That's-
subtitles. Anyway, thank you.
Hey.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye bye. Have a good one.